all construction, all buildings grow. Very rarely I was restoring historic buildings throughout the UK. Palaces like Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, Bank of England, Tower of London. With the new project in France, Willows, we're going to be using low carbon materials. And the way to reduce and make this site very eco.
Dear viewers, it's my pleasure to welcome you at another issue of Stobox interview. And today we're having a special guest. Meet Charles Michael Hinman, a chairman and founder of Stoneguard Group, a Stobox client who is doing a security token offering for one of their construction projects. Mike, it's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you very much indeed. My pleasure as well. Let me give you some information on my background within the construction industry and also within the green industry. First off, back in the early 60s, the late 60s to the late 90s, I was restoring historic buildings throughout the UK. These buildings consisted of castles, palaces like Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, Bank of England, Tower of London, bridges like Tower Bridge, Windsor Bridge, many different types of historical buildings. These buildings were desperately in need of repair because some of them were up to 1,000 years old. So restoration and conservation is quite an art to take the building back to its original state or try and find some of the original stones or materials that were used, and also items like lime cement, Roman cement. This was a fascinating job for me. I spent many years traveling the world to try and find different products, including moving into not necessarily just restoration of old buildings, but cladding with specialized products of new buildings. And as we moved into the turn of the century, into the 2000s, I started to look at areas that we could improve that worked with the climate. We had, as you know, we were told that the carbons was the worst thing we could do to any project. So I worked on projects where we could add or remove high carbon usage. For instance, every ton of cement used on a building is equivalent to a ton of carbons going into the atmosphere. So we had to then look at, if we used bricks are fired in a kiln at over 1,000 degrees centigrade. Steel is melted and fired at over 1,000 degrees centigrade. All these need carbon energy to produce this heat. So we tried to move away from all these products. And this is what we're doing with the new project in France, Willows. We're going to be using low carbon materials. And the way to reduce and make this site very eco is the three most important things is insulation, insulation, and insulation. If you put up to 300 millimeters of insulation in the floor and in the walls and in the ceiling, you won't need to heat that area or that room, because it'll stay at a roughly 20 degrees centigrade. The only downside is when somebody opens a door or opens a window. Anyway, moving on from all these different areas, we back in the turn of the century, I looked at, we formed a company called Generate Green and another one called Lightlux. Lighting was easy. The Lightlux company, we moved into LEDs. The minute you use LED, you're cutting up to 90% of the energy used to light a bulb. The original 100-watt bulb was only using 10 watts of energy for light and 90 watts of energy for heat. And I can remember the days when you touched a bulb and you burnt yourself. So we have done many projects throughout the UK and also the world using LEDs and PV, photovoltaic. This is solar that makes electricity. We also had solar thermal, which of course heats the water. With solar thermal, solar PV, lighting, air-to-air heat pumps, rainwater recycling, all these items are going to be put into this Willows project. Now, let's just have a quick chat about Willows. Willows is going to be a 5-star eco project. The energy use is going to be practically nil. The rainwater is going to be captured for recycling and reuse. So we're going to minimize energy, minimize water, minimize the amount of materials we're going to use to take to the site and use on the site. Now, this is quite crucial, because if you take a standard house in the UK, there's usually about 100 tons of brick and block to build the frame, don't call it a frame, but to build the walls. We are using what is known as a SIP panel, and this is a highly insulated panel sandwiched between two cement particle boards. Very light, less transportation. We can clad it with local timber or any types of local stone if we need to clad it. We can render it with a flexible render, which doesn't have any cement in. Now, that's known as acrylic render, and it's anti-crack. So if the building does move or there's high winds, or the render cannot crack. And one of the biggest problems with construction is building slightly moving, cracking of stone, brick, render, water gets in, then you have the freeze-thaw cycle, which means that water will freeze and then crack further, cause internal damage. With our system, it's airtight and won't crack, won't cause any problems in any weather. So we now have a site in France in a very lovely area called Montague de Quercy, which is due east of Bordeaux in the Tarn area. Very beautiful. It's 18 acres. We've got planning to put 34 properties, all eco, all to a very high standard. The area is very beautiful for part of France. It's got the Montague de Quercy is a 12th century town. with lovely old buildings, churches, lots of restaurants. We're about a mile and a half from the town centre. We're also about a mile away from a huge, great internal lake. This lake has all the water facilities, including skis, fishing, water sports, bistro. So there's lots of things to do and places to see within this area of France. It's classed as one of the very nice holiday locations, and it's very popular for that. Moving on, after working for many years with these modern materials, going back to 2008, I built a house in the grounds of Nottingham University, jointly with the university. They took the house over after I finished it, and they were now using it for testing. Now, these, without getting too technical, all the items that I put on that house are eco items, and these have been tested, work well, and these are what we're going to be using in the Willows project.
It's just mind-blowing to think about the fact that you've been trusted to work on building to such historical significance as Buckingham Palace and London Tower. It probably shows a high degree of expertise that you have been trusted to restore them. And it's fascinating that investors have an opportunity to invest alongside company and alongside people like you, that they can not only invest in greenfield projects launched by young lads with no experience, but also by projects that are executed by companies who really know what they are doing. And it was felt very well during your speech and your presentation. And by the way, thank you for such a detailed presentation. It was felt very well that you know what you're speaking about, and you understand when you've been speaking about that technical details of how the Willows is constructed, the materials that you're using. It really, even for me, it definitely increases the trust that you, when you execute your STO and you raise capital, you will be able to do the construction right. So could you please tell our viewers more about the financial terms of the investment? So when they purchase Willows tokens, what do they actually get? What are the financial terms?
Well, the financial terms are for the first 3 years, we will pay a coupon of 8%, because the project will be carried out in phases, but it'll take approximately 3 years to completely build out, before we can start renting. So we'll need to encourage investors to put their money in, and this is why we're going to be paying an 8% coupon. After that, we will take what I call this debt token and convert it into an equity token. So anybody that wants to have it converted into equity will own then part of this site, a percentage of the site, and then we'll be paying some interest on the money, which is not really a coupon, but about 4 to 5% each year as their token is growing up to year 10. After year 10, the value of the site should be very, very good, and which means that the token investor will have very excellent growth of his investment.
That sounds like a very good business model. So basically, and the very good investment opportunity. So 8% is returns, especially given the relatively lower degree of risk than in many other projects, given that you already own the land, you probably already have the building permit, and you generally executed not one of such projects. 8% is a stunning and fascinating return in the world of probably negative interest rates on bank deposit. This is probably really a way how you can save your money from inflation and make it work. and not simply diminish because of money printing machine.
No, that's very true. Very true. The reason why we wanted to give 8% is because the project is not an existing project they're investing in, but it's a brand new concept, and it will take quite a few months before there is an actual income. And so we wanted to make sure that all our investors are being looked after. Also, after we convert to equity, there will be dividends depending on how well the business grows.
So after the conversion, investors will be entitled to a preferred return plus a share of dividends, correct?
Yeah.
That's good that investors will be able to share the potential growth in the revenue as the project becomes more popular, as you're probably getting more tourists getting by.
Very true. Yeah.
Could you please tell us more about the location? You mentioned you have already identified the location in southern France. So it would be great if you could tell our viewers more, because probably location is the main determinant of whether the hospitality project is going to attract attention from potential visitors.
Okay. Now, the location is right in the middle of the Southwest Pyrenees, but it's about an hour from Toulouse Airport and about 40 minutes from Bergerac Airport, about another or an hour from Bordeaux. It's just a very pretty part of France without many major cities. I would say the nearest large city is Montauban, but that's not large as we would class it. That's just a medium, well-stocked town rather than a city. It's a town. Lots of lovely things going on in the area. Golf courses. You can go on truffle hunting days. You can do, I would say it's lucky that we have this lake under a mile away, because we're about the furthest from any sea. I'd have to go to the other side of Bordeaux before you hit the Atlantic Ocean, or quite a way south before you hit the Mediterranean. So it's not a seaside holiday, but it has got all the facilities you will get at the seaside. And not a lot else I can explain about the area. It's just very beautiful. It's one of the best places in France. It's got all the things that France can offer. And some lovely wine in the Bordeaux area. There's some of the best wines in the world. Plenty of vineyards to visit. Plenty of chateaus to go and see. And it's far enough south to have a very good climate.
That's fascinating, and I'm already excited myself to come to visit the area, and when Willows is built, to maybe have a stay in the hotel myself. Proceeding further, could you please tell our viewers how is Willows different from other investment opportunities, from other real estate projects? So what really makes it unique, and why would investors put their money into this project and not many others?
I think with any real estate, you're investing in a building, and you can show after a while, all construction, all buildings grow. Very rarely are they a reverse investment. So you have ups and downs in any building, but long term, they're all very safe. The advantage with this project is that the site is unique. It's very, very nice area. And there is a very good return. We've done in the prospectus, we're showing of 60% occupancy, 70% and 80%. Under 80%, there is going to be a massive profit, which means a very good dividend. All I can say is it's eco. A lot of buildings are being built which are not. This is going to be a much healthier. Now, we need everybody on this planet to back the systems that we've agreed to do in COP26, and that is reduce carbons by a massive percentage. The only way you can do that is to build the right way and use less energy to run the building. So it's the right thing to invest in. That's all I can say.
So you would say that investing in Willows is more than simply about the financial returns, although they are very good. It's also about supporting the new culture in how you do the construction, a culture whereby you care about sustainability, about how you impact the planet and the environment.
That is so true. That is so true. I've been working now for 15 years, trying my hardest to encourage people to use systems and to have the mindset of minimizing carbons, minimizing. We must look at every single thing. We've got to look at what we can use from the planet. If it's wind, if it's sun, if it's cooling underground, saving water, anything we can do to improve the planet for our children and our grandchildren.
I'm proud to hear that there are people like you who are trying to make this world better and to build with regard to future generations. And I'm proud that you trusted us to support your project and to help you with the execution of the STO. I hope so much that viewers of this interview will consider your project interesting and will invest in Willows, because I want so much that this goes live, that this becomes successful, and that this changes their culture and practices in construction. So Mike, I'm glad that you came to our interview. It was a pleasure preparing this project with you, and I hope that investors will come into your project and will be highly satisfied by its success.
I'm also very pleased that Stobox have worked tremendously well with us and helped us, because this is a new concept. I've been in the construction industry and raising money for 50 odd years. And this new concept of using crypto and a secure asset, a secure token, is a brilliant idea. And I would just say Stobox has shown me the route, offered me the expertise and technology, and given us plenty of advice on how to go forward using the systems of the future.
I'm glad that we have such a responsible project, and it was a pleasure to work with you. And you will reply in that it was a pleasure for you as well, because this is very innovative stuff.
It was also a great pleasure for us to be able to work with an expertise company like Stobox. They have been amazing when it comes to giving us advice on how a secure token works. They are an award-winning company with expertise in technology and consultancy, especially when it comes to a tokenized security. So thank you very much again. Been our pleasure.
Thank you, Mike. The pleasure was mine. Enjoy your day.